everyone, welcome back to Virtue's Voyager. My name is Lizzy, and this is another episode of Confident Girl's Guide to Disability. Today we're going to be talking about accessible makeup. I acknowledge that what's accessible for me isn't necessarily accessible for everybody, so I did my best to do a little bit of research and see what's out there. As always, if you have any tips for anybody else, leave them down below in the comments. Let's get started. So the first thing that I found was an article by SimplyEmma, and this was talking about people with limited mobility. Emma has muscular dystrophy, and some of the things that she talked about were eyeliner stamps and magnetic eyelashes, as well as certain kinds of brushes. So I thought this was a really good article. It had a lot of pictures and things, so I'm just scrolling through it here pretty quick, but I'll leave the link in the comments section so that you can access it as well and read it more in depth. She gives some links to a lot of other types of makeup and things that she has personally tried and how they worked. The next thing that I was looking at was this Equip to Adapt. They had a whole bunch of information about creating your space so that it's easier for you to access your makeup and use it. In addition, they talk a lot about how to adapt current makeup that you already have. So it could be things like adding an extra handle to your tool or putting a rubber band around the lid so it's easier to open, using a magnifying glass so that you can see it better, just kind of different options so that you can hold or access your makeup easier. I think some brands actually are becoming more inclusive, especially for individuals with low vision or no vision. They'll do things like put a QR code on it. Human Beauty actually has some things like that, I believe, where they put a QR code on it and it'll describe the different shades of the eyeshadow to you, which is really awesome in my opinion. I would really enjoy trying something by Human Beauty. I haven't personally, but they have this mascara that can be used both vertically and horizontally, so there's different ways that you can use it, which I think is really cool because not everybody can hold things exactly the way that it requires to be used. They also have a whole bunch of cheek, I don't know what you call them, balms, I guess it's technically just like a cream blush, but they have like cream blush and cream highlighters that don't seem like they would be too tricky to open. They also have a sensory friendly line, which I would really love to try because I have a lot of sensory issues with makeup and just with things in general, so it's really cool that they give this as an option so that they're really lightweight. They talk about the design choices that they made with that and the texture of it so that it is able to be worn for a longer period of time and be more accessible to people with sensory sensitivities. Then moving on to the next thing, there are different kinds of brushes that you can use. This one specifically has a motor in it, so it vibrates so that it can kind of save your wrist from the amount of movement that it would take to blend out certain types of makeup. So there are options like that. There's also this Flex collection, which is from I believe Kohl Kreatives, and they have a whole bunch of, they actually stand up by themselves, and they have a whole bunch of different shapes and sizes so that you can put your makeup on easier. There's also Guide Beauty, and this one has different wands and to apply eyeliner and a couple of other products. So another thing about this is they have different shaped handles, so they have more like a round shape handle you can see on this one. So if that is helpful to you in holding the object that applies your makeup, like these brushes, this might be a good brand to check out. I also saw Rare Beauty. This one's been really popular lately. I personally, again, haven't tried any of these, but I've heard a lot of good things. Selena Gomez created them. She has lupus, so she created all of her beauty products with accessibility in mind, the ability to open and close them easier. So I've heard good things about this. Go check that out if that's of interest as well. I'm just kind of scrolling through all these sites here because I think it's really fun to look at all the different stuff that they have. There was some lip tints and cheek tints, and then I also like these sticks, like the highlighter sticks and that kind of stuff. I really enjoy cream makeup personally because it's just so much easier to use for me. It doesn't require as many tools, but there's all kinds of stuff there. The last one that I have is Tilt. So Tilt Beauty is specifically for people with arthritis in mind. They have something called the grip stick, and they have replaceable tubes for the inside of it. So this is meant to be easier to open and close. They also have mascara available, but I think that that's really nice, and that they can replace the inside of it and you don't have to throw away the entire accessible portion to the outside. So here's some examples of the refills and stuff on that. So one issue that I had when I lived in my teeny tiny little apartment is I had no counter space, and I was constantly dropping my makeup products. So I have this little tray that I would use, and I would put it over the sink. Clearly I'm not in that space anymore, but having a tray can really help reduce the amount of objects that you drop and break, and also that you have to lean down and pick up. This is where I do my makeup. I have this little vanity space that kind of turns into a little desk. I love it. I cannot stand for extended periods of time. I find it very challenging. So having a little vanity area like this to just keep all of my stuff in one place, like I said, it's kind of like a tray area, and being able to sit and have a mirror right there is just super helpful. So this is kind of what I keep in my vanity. I thought I'd just give you a little view of it before I get started with my actual makeup routine. I always put my hair up before I do my makeup, so now we're getting into an example of kind of what I do. And I always wash my face. Beauty influencers make it look like super cute and easy and fun, and reality is this is what a normal person looks like washing their face. You'll see that I make a lot of faces as I continue to do my makeup. I didn't know that I did that, but I'm sure that everybody does that, so I don't know how beauty influencers look pretty while they're doing it. But yeah, this is de-influencing you. This is reality. So I wash my face just to get everything right, ready for the makeup. Yeah, dry everything. I usually dry around the sink too, because I spill water everywhere. I'm a little bit clumsy, so just making sure that I'm cleaning up after myself here. Now we're getting into the makeup specifically. I have to wear sunscreen. I might do another video about this. If you have, oh no, you could tell I have sensory issues with it. If you have sunscreen that you don't have a sensory issue with, let me know down below in the comments, because I do this every morning, and I swear I'm not just purposely making these faces. This is just a genuine reaction to oh my gosh, I have to put it on. So I put on sunscreen on my face, my ears, my chest, my neck, and my shoulders. And then when I get done, I have it all over my hands, and I have to wash my hands. And I didn't know how to pick up my phone to bring you with me. And I totally banged my hip on the door. I was a little bit clumsy.
My door on my way out of the bedroom.
So there's me washing my hands, trying to get all of the sunscreen off, because I can't stand it, especially on the front of my hands, especially even lotion too. I have a sensory issue with that. So now we're back, and I'm starting out with some mascara. I'm just gonna do one eye and then skip over the other, just so you can kind of see what I do. Yeah, here's me making some faces about my mascara. I find that the lighter the formula, the more accessible it is to me. Putting on any kind of fake eyelashes or anything super heavy on my eyelashes is really challenging. I have a lot of sensory issues with that. Here I also have tics, so you can see some of those and how that affects my makeup application. I usually end up having to take a Q-tip and put a little bit of makeup remover on one side and then remove any smudges. And then I use the dry side of the Q-tip to kind of remove the makeup remover after I put that on, because if I leave it, then the mascara gets smudged, because the makeup remover kind of removes the actual makeup instead of just the smudges. But this is something that I typically have to do because I'm just not precise enough to put it on perfectly. I've also stabbed myself in the eye with mascara plenty of times, so if anybody has any tips on how to avoid that, let me know. So now I'm gonna move on to the next step, which, let me see here, I don't even know what it is. Oh, Eyebrows. I do my eyebrows. It took me a really long time to find an eyebrow pencil that was light enough. I look like a villain with most eyebrow pencils, so I finally found this one, which I think is a good shade for my face. And they almost discontinued it. I was devastated, but then I found it again, so I was really happy about that. So I put it on both sides, and then I usually take a little spoolie brush to kind of rake it through my eyebrows and blend it out a little bit so that it doesn't look as harsh. So this is me with my spoolie. I try to use really, really, really light makeup products, both in color because I'm very fair, but also in the way that it feels on my face. Anything that's super heavy, I don't tolerate well, which is why I don't use like a foundation or anything. But think about different foundations that you could use are powders or creams or liquid formulas. So if one of those things works better for you, use that and try to find that in other products. I find that these jumbo, I think they're by NYX, I'll leave it in the comment section. They're really, really easy for me to use because they don't require any brushes. The reality is that I'm not going to wash my brushes as often as I should. And I also have a hard time being able to like use the brushes properly, which is really weird because I paint all the time. But just like on my face, I don't like the light feeling of the brushes. It feels kind of tickly, and I don't enjoy that sensory wise. So having something like this that's a stick is a lot easier because I can be a little bit more firm with the application process. And then I usually just blend it out with my fingers. So you'll notice that I use my hands a lot during this makeup video because, like I said, I don't use brushes. I can't use brushes. And also I don't have sensory issues with the makeup products that I have chosen. So when I get them on my hands, I just wipe them off with a little Kleenex. Here's me messing with the lighting. I don't know what's better and what's worse. It's kind of hard to see. I go very natural with my makeup, so you can't really tell very much anyway. This is my blush. I love anything with a square top because it's just significantly easier for me to open. I find that the round top ones, they're just really hard to grip and open easily, but the square top ones, I don't know, it just gives you a little extra leverage. So with this blush, I just blend it out with my fingers. It is a liquid formula. It feels like nothing once it's on, which I really appreciate. And like I said earlier, making some faces to make sure it goes on right. So you're not the only one if you're making faces while you put your makeup on. And then I just wipe it off on this Kleenex again. I love a little bit of glitter, so I went for a little bit of glitter. I just have this teeny little, I don't know what it is, eyeshadow palette, highlighter palette. I don't even know, but I just use my finger to apply that. And then I have just a little bit of sparkle all day long, which makes me happy. It's also very, very light and very, very fine glitter. Anything like a chunky glitter would be really rough for my sensory issues, so I don't tend to use anything that is... Also, if it gets on my eyelashes and I can see it sparkling, I have a hard time with that. So this really, really fine glitter works a lot better for me, and I can use it in multiple ways. And I find that the more ways that I can use a makeup product, the more that I like it, because I don't want to have 100 makeup items in order to do my makeup. I want to be able to just throw them in a teeny little bag and take it with, or just get it done really quickly. So having things that have multiple uses, sometimes I use my blush as an eyeshadow, is really helpful to me and more accessible. I also use a little bit of eyeliner here. I go for gold just because I am blonde, and I find that black eyeliner it makes me look kind of like a Barbie. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It feels so full glam anytime that I use black mascara or black eyeliner. I mean, I have tried using other mascaras as well. Sometimes I think I use brown black just because it seems a little bit more natural. I often lean my elbow on my table while I'm putting my makeup on. I find that this just gives me a little bit more stability, and it also helps with energy limiting conditions, like just not having to hold up my own arm saves a teeny bit of energy. And honestly, when you have a whole day to get through, you just gotta try your best in every little time to save energy. The final thing I'm using is a lip gloss. I don't typically wear lip gloss. I use chapstick. I find that works a little bit better in terms of my sensory issues, but I do like the way lip gloss looks, so occasionally I'll choose to put it on for a video or just to finish off my makeup. And then here's what it looks like in the light. It's very, very lightweight, and I can wear it all day without having any sensory issues. So if you have any other products that you love, please leave them down below. Thanks for joining me.